Hello, Land of African Insights. I am Patrick Jackie.
And I'm Chris.
We are here to give our reflections on African Insights from the time we began until now. We are coming towards the end of the year, and we just want to reflect on the whole idea of African Insights and a number of topics that we shall address in this interview. And I want to begin by asking Chris, as a pioneer of African Insights, Chris, what are your general reflections? What have we achieved? Are we making an impact? Is that the intended intention? What's the participation? And are students enjoying this?
Well, as you know from our trip, Jackie, and some of you watching, our nice trip to Soweto, we went to Mandela House, the Kliptown Museum, and where else did we go? Hector Peterson Museum. Yes. And speaking with you guys and speaking with all the other students, they really responded, I think, to the trip, and they were able to, really apply everything they've learned throughout the weeks in the courses, to what they were experiencing on the field trip. And I think it has broadened their understanding of Africa and the diaspora, and also mine. I was able to apply stuff from my own experience and learn so many new things. I think it was great.
Chris, I want to add on to that. I think that the range of topics we've had for African Insights have been exciting. For example, what is it to be an African?
Yeah.
You understand? It's not been an easy question to answer because it doesn't. Many students have answered it in different ways. The question on language, what is the importance of language? The kind of language Africans should adopt for academia and business and commerce. The question of LGBTQI, that for me was a very good one. And feminism. These are not areas that I understand very well, but participating on African Insights, I think it has broadened my mind. And I can definitely say that the students also have profited from discussing the various aspects of these topics. Definitely.
And can I ask you, what did you learn that you didn't know before?
As I've just mentioned, LGBTQI has not been my area. So the readings, the different perspectives, bringing in Tony and the kind of issues that Paul brought up, especially the historical aspect that the issues of LGBTQ are not new. They have been around. I was even surprised to learn that my country, Uganda, is mentioned that in the time of a king called Mwanga. These issues were there, and this is in the 18th century.
Yes, and I think in terms of that topic, and you mentioned Uganda, that is one of the most homophobic countries in Africa among many other countries. Nigeria with its various laws, and even in South Africa, although we have many protections in our constitution, socially we still have many challenges. And I think one of the important things of our course and what you guys learn is the impact of colonization. What are the perceptions, and why do we think like this today in our continent, when, as you say, in our history, or in Ugandan history and in other countries on the continent, that these things have always existed. It is nothing new. So we have to I think, critically analyze why we believe certain things and the history of those beliefs. If you don't mind, I have a question for you.
Yes, please. Yes.
How do you think we can move forward when we talk about, African Renaissance? How can we move forward? What can we do as academics, as students, as people in the field working? What can people do?
Chris, that's a very exciting question, but I want to begin answering it from you remember we had the topic of whether in South Africa we can speak of an inheritance, a South African inheritance. I'd like to begin from there before I talk about the Renaissance perspective. Chris, some have argued that post-1994, that there is no such a thing as a South African inheritance. And I have thought, I spent many hours thinking about this idea. And I think there's a problem. People conflate two things. One, that the fact that we got independence also means that we are emancipated in other areas. But I think this is a conflation that has thrown us into crisis. Yes, we've had independence, right? Mm-hmm. But we can't say that we're emancipated in every way. Consider the fact that the inequality in this country is just one of the highest in the world, right? That in itself is a problem. And so, but can we say that because we are surrounded by inequality and poverty, grinding poverty, that we do not have a South African inheritance? I think it will be a mistake. I think there's a sense in which we can say, and my colleagues I know will not agree with me, that the very fact that we have independence, we have achieved something. Maybe not totally, but for example, the peace. I know one will argue that without food you cannot talk about peace, but we could have gone the route of Rwanda, the route of Herzegovina and Bosnia, where there was a lot of genocide. We can go in. So for me, I think that the very fact that we have been able to remain stable in spite of our different problems, which I don't think we can conclusively say we have solved, and this is part of the renaissance. We have relatively stability. We have a participatory democracy. We can go to the polls and vote. We have a constitution that is respected, although the present government doesn't seem to adhere to some of its tenets. But so, where do we go as Africa? This is exactly the kind of area now we can begin to address. For example, to emancipate, or if renaissance is going to mean anything for us, we must begin to think how we are going to deal with poverty, how we are going to deal with issues of education in this country. Remember, we are building. Renaissance really means a rebirth. We are rebuilding, and we want to go forward. So the question then is, how do we go forward? Who do we involve? Where do the resources come from? This is something one person cannot say, I'll do it. It's a collective consciousness. All of us come together as a country, as a people, and decide that this is the way we want our country to move forward. It's not for one person. It's not even for ANC alone. It's a country, it's a continent, it's all of us as a people. I don't know, Chris, whether I have...
No, I think that's perfect. That's really, it's a very nuanced approach to these issues. And what I want to mention, to bring it close to our students, I think a way forward is to ask yourself, who are you reading in your courses? Who are these people that you are reading? Are they all white Western men, for example? Are you reading any African thinkers or writers in your philosophy course? Are you reading African fiction in English? Are you studying the ancient structures in Ethiopia for your architectural course or whatever it is? I think we have to be aware. We really have to be aware of the curriculum, of the body of knowledge we are contributing to, because whenever you reference in your essay, if you reference a writer, you are adding and building onto a body of knowledge that exists. And this links to the South African inheritance and the African inheritance. We have inherited a Western university. And I think the way forward is to add your own insights, add your own understanding and develop what is in the African continent and in diaspora, ideas that you can build on and add to a growing body of knowledge.
Chris, I think what you're talking about is an idea that has been floated around called decolonization. And it's such an important idea and that's why African insights is being pioneered. Because in Africa there are many good things. Yes. We have been told over many years that Africa has nothing to offer to the world, but that cannot be true. The very fact that we are rational, the very fact that we are human beings, means that we can contribute knowledge, we can contribute to architecture, we contribute. Along history, there is so much documented, right? That has characterized us Africans. Chris, for me, the important part is how much of this do we bring to the university? Do you have a thought on this? How much do we integrate what is African, properly African, in the curriculum of the university, for example?
I think this is where we need the institutional support, like we do, I think, at UJ, where we have to encourage students to research the fields that they want, that they are not stifled by supervisors, by other members of faculty, to rather go in this direction. I think they should encourage the students to really add to a body of knowledge, as I've said, to build on these great things that are already in Africa. Africa is not only about genocide and war and poverty. This is what the media, the Western media, often focuses on. But it's not the only thing that there is. I'm someone who is a little hopeful, and I think that there are these positive aspects that we should definitely build onto. And we can't do that without institutional support, because these are colonial structures that are in place and that have served for hundreds of years a specific kind of person who looks like me, for example. And that is something that definitely needs to change.
One of my exciting... In conclusion, and Chris, I want to ask you, and this is probably a very personal question, Chris. As a white dude doing African Insights, for me, my greatest joy has been to have you, Chris, because then we also demystify that when we talk about African Insights, we really mean black people, which is completely a wrong idea. I think what we want to carry forward as an African object is an inclusive society. And for me, having you as part of African Insights has been of great, tremendous joy. But I want to ask you, Chris, yes, your own reflections on this, Chris. Have you grown? Do you feel that this has really been something that you do over and do over and do again and again, because you can see the value of this, not just for our students, but for the entire UJ community, maybe the whole country, maybe the whole continent?
Okay, wow. Thank you for those nice words, Patrick. It's been a great joy to work with you as well, to get to know you. I think this links into our first topic, what is an African, I think it has helped me gain a certain understanding of our continent and of people within our own country. Africa it is so diverse. We know that's not only in our own country, but we have such a history in the north of Africa, west, east, south, everywhere. And I think this course has shaped my own research in terms of my master's degree that I'm trying to get. It has shifted me in a different direction because of the insights I've gained from this course. So I think, and I hope, that will influence our students. Thank you.
Thank you, African Insights. Thank you for viewing us, and thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you.